Welcome back to the LangChain Masterclass. In the last video, we explored how to enforce structure in our AI outputs using typedicts, Pydantic models, and even JSON schemas. That gave us predictable, validated responses directly from the LLM. But today, we're taking the next big step toward building reliable, production-grade AI workflows. In this episode, we're diving into output parsers, one of the most essential components for controlling, transforming, and sanitizing raw LLM responses. So, whenever we ask an LLM to generate something, whether it's text, JSON, or structured data, the model simply returns a blob of text. And as developers, we often need that text to be converted into something more useful. Maybe a dictionary, maybe a Python object, maybe valid JSON, or maybe just a cleaned up string without extra formatting. And this is where output parsers become incredibly important. So, output parsers act like a bridge between the LLM's response and the exact format your application needs. They help us solve common problems that show up frequently in real AI development. For example, when you ask an LLM for JSON object, it might wrap the responses in backticks, add explanations, or provide here is the JSON you asked for text. So this makes the output impossible to directly load into the parser. Output parser strip away noise and give you exactly the content you asked for. Similarly, even if we instruct the model carefully, sometimes it forgets a quote, adds a trailing comma, or formats arrays incorrectly. This will go break your entire pipeline. So using something like JsonOutputParser helps enforce valid JSON and repairs common model mistakes. And if you're working with structured data like user profiles, product details, form fields, or classification labels, you rarely want raw text. Instead, you want a validated Python object that you can immediately send to an API, database, or UI. That's where PydanticOutputParser becomes incredibly powerful because it converts AI output directly into Pydantic models with type checking and validation. And when your AI agent needs to make choices, calls APIs, or trigger tools, you can't rely on messy text. Agent need exact formats, clean fields, and guaranteed structure. Output parser is going to give us that stability. So, in this episode, we'll explore three essential output parsers in LangChain: the StrOutputParser, the JsonOutputParser, and then the PydanticOutputParser. Here, we'll implement each one, see how they behave with real prompts, and understand when to use which parser. And by the end of this video, you'll not only know how output parsers work, but you'll also be able to design AI pipelines that transform raw LLM text into clean, production-ready data. So, without any delay, let's go into the implementation. So, we'll start with the simplest parser in LangChain, which is the StrOutputParser. This parser does exactly what its name suggests. It takes the raw output from the language model and returns it as a clean, plain string. Think of it as the most lightweight and default parser that simply says, no matter what the model returns, just give me the text cleanly. This is especially useful when your pipeline involves further string processing, sentiment analysis, keyword extraction, or when you just need the response itself without any structure. So in short, StrOutputParser will be our baseline parser. It doesn't enforce structure, it doesn't validate JSON, it does not convert into object. It simply ensures that the final output of the model is delivered as a clean, predictable string ready for the next step in our workflow. So to implement StrOutputParser, I will first load my LangChain grok model, import chatgrok, then from .env import load.env, then from LangChain underscore core dot prompts import prompt template, and then from LangChain core dot output parsers import StrOutputParser. Okay, now let me call my model here. So my model is going to be from ChatGrok, and then the model name is Llama model 3.3 with 70 billion parameters and versatile. Let me quickly confirm the model name here. So Llama 3.3 70 billion versatile. I think the name is correct, even though I will try to make it consistent. Anyways, now at first I'll define a template. So that will be from prompt template. I can write template and then write a detailed report on a topic. So the topic is going to be my placeholder, and then the content that will come inside topic can be defined in the input variables, and then input variables will define a topic object. Okay, so this is my first template or my first prompt. So first prompt template. Then similarly, I'll define my second prompt template here. Second prompt template. So the template 2 is going to again come from prompt template. And inside this, I'll first define my template, write a 5-line summary on the following text. So the text again will be a placeholder, and then it will also be defined inside our input variable. So comma. So input variables will be our text. Now this will be our second template. I'll now define a parser, StrOutputParser. So we might not have talked about chains here. I will do that in the upcoming video. But for now, I'm going to define a chain. A chain is a sequential step in our AI agent that will take place. So at first, template 1 will create a prompt for the first prompt. Then it will be passed to the model. I think I have a model. Yeah, model. Then I will call a parser object, which will convert our model response into a string or a readable string. Then I will generate template 2 and then basically call the model and then pass the parser object here again. So for our response, I'm going to invoke the chain. So while invoking the chain, since the first template is going to be called, so I need to pass in the topic here. So for that, I'm going to define a topic and then pass a topic. Let's call it black hole. And then we are going to finally print the result. Sorry, it is going to be response, not a result. Okay, so if I run this, so this, let me save this first. So if I run this, this is inside my fourth folder output parser, and then one StrOutputParser.py. So okay, what's wrong here? Okay, so I think I forgot to load the credentials. So to do that, I need to call load.env function. Let me save this and then rerun the code again. So to do that, let me hit clear and then rerun the code again. So my credential will be loaded. My first parser, sorry, my first template will be called, and the prompt will be write a detailed report on black hole. Then the model will generate this particular response based on this first prompt, and it will be passed to a parser. Now the parser will generate a readable string based on the first template. Then I'll pass the same output or the parsed output into the second template, where it says write a 5-line summary on the following output from the parser, which is text. Then based on that, I'll pass it again to the model, and then finally I'll again call the StrOutputParser. Now here, if we see the response, we'll see the last part of the response here. So it contains exactly 5 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points here. 3, 4 points. Actually it contains 4 points, not 5 here, but anyways, so here we have a precise summary that we exactly want, and then there is no additional content in the response. The response only contains a readable string in this particular case. So this was the case of str output parser.